TomoNews presents cockroaches.
Roach in your ear? Don't spray it like this guy did. A man in Chengdu, China decided to take matters into his own hands when a cockroach got stuck in his ear. The 60-year-old man, surnamed Li, was enjoying a good night's sleep when his slumber was disrupted by a sudden pain in his head. Suspecting a bug might be in his ear, Li tried removing the critter with a toothpick, then tweezers, before shaking his head violently from side to side. None of which worked. Li then sprayed pesticide into his ear, which killed the roach but caused his ear canal to swell up. What's more, the roach remained stuck in his ear. After putting up with the pain for 3 days, Li finally went to the hospital where a doctor removed the 1 centimeter long cockroach from his ear canal. The doctor later advised that anyone facing the same problem as Mr. Li should try pouring mineral oil into their ear to flush out the bug. Everyone's worst nightmare. A woman in India got the shock of her life after discovering that the crawling sensation up her nose was in fact an actual creepy crawler. The 42-year-old domestic worker woke up to an itchy, tingling feeling in her nasal cavity that soon turned painful. Doctors suspected a nasal growth before deducing it was a foreign body moving around. To everyone's horror, the intruder turned out to be a fully grown live cockroach. The vile insect had crawled up the woman's nose while she was sleeping and lodged itself right between her eyes. It took nearly 45 minutes and a combination of methods before the live roach was finally pulled out of the woman's nose. Had it stayed in, doctors believe it would have died and given the unfortunate patient an infection. Ew. Guess we're all sleeping like this tonight. This'll make your skin crawl. Periplanta americana, the American cockroach. These pests can be found in sewers, walls, beds, floors, cereals, and all sorts of nooks and crannies. And going by a video from electronic repair experts Tronics Fix, they also nest inside PlayStation 4s. According to Gizmodo, who spoke to several repairmen about the problem, it's more common than you'd expect. And before all you PS4 haters begin your trolling, it's worth mentioning cockroaches have been found in other consoles as well, okay? But the PS4 is apparently choice accommodation, as the vents are ideally located for the bugs to come and go as they please. The power supply is warm enough to keep the bugs feeling toasty. They do eventually get zapped by the inner workings of Sony's console, but then their corpses and poop melt into the hardware. Apparently, the roaches nest, grow up, poop, mate, have babies, which then themselves all grow up and mate and have babies and poop. And this insect orgy, poop and death cycle goes on until your PS4 just can't take the horror anymore and taps out. What's worse is that Sony reportedly won't repair bug-ridden PS4s, but several independent repairmen like Tronics Fix will.
Swarm of flying cockroaches descends on New York City. The summer weather always brings a buzz around New York, but this year's scorching hot temperatures are attracting more than just fun-loving humans. With 90-degree humidity cloaking the city, American cockroaches are spreading their wings. When the heat turns up, the cockroaches move around a lot more to keep cool. Moisture leaves their bodies and frees up a second pair of wings that typically aren't activated. The cockroaches don't actually fly though. To put it more accurately, they glide, descending from above, one city block at a time. To the people on the ground below, it's hardly a welcome development. However it is that they're getting around, most New Yorkers still hate them all the same. Ah, the pitfalls of a city littered with refuse.
More than 1 million cockroaches have escaped from a farm in Jiangsu, China, after an unknown suspect busted open the facility they were staying in. Wang Pengsheng bred the cockroaches for use in traditional medicine, feeding them fruits and other foods. A section of the greenhouse they were bred in was busted open and the pests spilled out. Disease control are now investigating ways to stamp out the problem, but it doesn't look good for Mr. Pengsheng, who claims he is out thousands of dollars. He had expected to make around $160 for every kilogram of cockroaches he sold.
Romantic meal ruined after husband bites into cockroach. A British man's dinner plans turned into his worst nightmare when he took a crunchy bite of his cream spinach and found a giant roach inside. Danny Grace wanted to surprise the missus and cook a romantic dinner for two. He wanted the perfect side trimmings for his prime steak, so he grabbed some Mark and Spencer's cream spinach. After setting the table and getting the mood right, his wife Corinne was impressed with her husband's sweet gesture. Until he took a chewy bite of a cockroach dwelling inside his cream spinach, causing the poor man to puke everything he made right in front of her. The Graces, disgusted, complained to the company, but were told it must have been a moth. They tried to hush up the couple by compensating them with a cheap bottle of sparkling wine and 25 pounds or around $38. Danny, now scarred for life, checks everything he eats, and his wife says he's paranoid and will never get prepackaged veggies again. A spokesperson for Marks and Spencer says they're investigating their pesky problem.
It's many people's worst nightmare.
My people, killing my beloved wife.
Something like this, getting in here. That's what happened to this guy, Hendrik Helmer, from Darwin, Australia. Helmer had to go to the hospital after he woke up at 2:30 a.m. with a terrible pain in his ear. He thought it was a small insect. So, he tried to use the vacuum cleaner to suck it out, but that only made the cockroach angrier. When Helmer stood up, the cockroach would make him fall over. Doctors first tried olive oil, but that didn't work. So they had to do this. Doctors said they never pulled an insect that big out of someone's ear. Here's Helmer with his tormentor.
Weird side job of the day. Chinese woman farm raises cockroaches to sell as traditional medicine. Yuan Meixia is a woman with ambition. Though she already works at a pharmacy, she has a lucrative job on the side. Last year, Yuan started a cockroach farm. She raises these lovely little critters from birth, drowns them, and then drives them out, selling the resulting product as Chinese traditional medicine. The 37-year-old lives in Guangdong in southern China. She recently told Nandu Networks that she keeps her roaches in an abandoned house. The roaches, all 100,000 of them, are her babies, she says fondly. She feeds them starch and sweets, and their favorite foods are apparently cantaloupe and apples. Aww. Cockroach farming is a booming business in China. An LA Times report last year said there are about 100 roach farms in the country. After the roaches are drowned, the insects can be sold whole or powdered. The business is lucrative because, as we all know, the insect can survive in the most unforgiving environment and still live and multiply. Yuan says dried roaches can be eaten raw for their anti-carcinogenic properties or used in cosmetics as they're a cheap form of protein. These babies sell for up to $72 per kilo. Not bad. Although, we can't help but wonder if these more popular cancer-combating foods would still taste better.
Bangkok Airways has formally apologized to two passengers who found a cockroach's leg on the side of one of their fruit bowls. According to Bangkok Air Catering, the cockroach likely entered the area where food was packaged. This was probably where the cockroach's leg was squished under a wrapper before being transported onto a Bangkok Airways plane. Luckily, the passenger noticed the insect's limb before putting any food in her mouth. But the big question is, where did the rest of the cockroach go?
Cyborg cockroaches could be used as a mapping tool. Researchers at North Carolina State University have developed a mapping system that would make use of the remarkable survival skills of cockroaches. Cockroaches are fitted with electronics connected to their antennae and cerci. Scientists remotely steer the cockroaches by stimulating their antennae and accelerate their movements by stimulating their cerci. The cyborg cockroaches' movements are restricted by a UAV via radio signal, which limits their movements to within 20 meters. The UAV signal is able to penetrate buildings. The insects would move freely within the defined area, while emitting radio waves, which would translate into a map of the area. The UAV would move to unexplored areas until all sections are mapped. The cyborg cockroaches could be released into dangerous areas such as collapsed buildings to conduct mapping missions. Researchers hope the system will help experts locate survivors after a disaster and aid officials in finding a safe way to rescue victims.
A cockroach infestation forced passengers off of a Greyhound bus on Friday. 48 passengers were riding the bus from Atlantic City to New York. Shortly into the journey, people began to panic when they noticed cockroaches crawling all over the interior of the vehicle. The driver pulled the bus over and told the operator about the situation. The passengers got out of the bus in Port Republic to wait for another vehicle. Greyhound sent another bus to take the passengers on the rest of their journey. Greyhound also refunded the passengers the full price of the bus ticket.
Dead cockroaches sent by suspected stalker. Man arrested. A suspected stalker kept sending a dead cockroach with a letter in an envelope to his ex-girlfriend's family members. He was arrested for stalking. The man was dumped by his girlfriend. He refused to accept getting the boot, so decided to be really annoying and call her all the time. Since he was really just that annoying, he was given a warning for his behavior. After the stalker lost contact with his ex, he sprang some surprises on her. He sent a letter threatening his ex-girlfriend's family members. He was also suspected of sending an envelope with a dead cockroach. However, he denied any involvement in the case.